Okay, so we've been doing different forms of representing relationships, okay? And we've done how to make a table from, if you've got an equation. We've been doing how to make a graph if you've got an equation. Now we're going to do how to formulate equations from tables and graphs. So we're going to first start with formulating equations from tables. So this is on page 126, so please follow with me because the examples are in your textbooks. And it's a bit difficult for me to accurately put the graph on. So it would be best if you follow from your textbook on page 126. Okay, so the first example I'm going to do is when we did the TV installation with labor cost. Okay, so they said that there was a call out fee of 300 Rand and Rand per hour was 500. So they had a call out fee of 300, so that stayed constant. So no matter how long they worked or how hard they worked, that would be a call out fee. So that's for them to come out. Okay. Then from the 300 Rand, then they also charge an additional rate per hour. So for every hour they get paid 500 Rand. Okay. So we're going to quickly fill up this table. So if they worked 0 hours but got called out, okay, so do you agree that it's only 300 Rand? So it's only the call out fee because if you say 0 times 500, that's going to be 0. Then for 1 hour, it's going to have a call out fee. So they're going to have a call out fee, okay, plus they're going to have a rate. So they're going to have 500 Rand per hour. So 500 Rand times how many hours did they work? 1. Okay, so this gives us 300 plus 500, so that's 800. So we put that in, so 800 Rand. Okay, say now they work 2 hours. Okay, so it's a call out fee of 300 plus, now you put your rate. So for 2 hours, so that's 2 times 500. Okay, and that will give us 300 plus 1,000. Okay, so that is 1,300. So let's put that in. Okay, so now let's check for 3 hours. So they've got a stable call out fee plus 500 Rand per hour, and they worked for 3 hours. So this is 300 plus 1,500. Okay, and this gives us 1,800 in total, so 1,800. Okay, so now that we've got our table, they'll probably give you the table in any ways if they ask you to find an equation. There's 2 methods to do this. Okay, the first method on how to do this is taking your pattern formula that I taught you guys. So that was your Tn is equal to Dn plus C. Okay, so I take this and my pattern is 300, 800, 1,300, 1,800, and I check what is my difference. Is there a constant difference? So 800 minus 300 gives me 500. Okay, 1,300 minus 800 gives me 500, and the same here. So I do have a constant difference, so I can use this method. Okay, so my D will be 500. Now I'll work out what my C is. So if I take the first term, okay, and I see so this is, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3. So I take this one and I go 500, okay, times N is 0 plus C. It needs to equal to 300 because my 0 hours, okay, is over there, and my Tn is my output value. Okay, so that needs to give me 300. So this will be 0 plus C gives me 300. What do I need to add on this side? So I've got 0 plus C equals 300. What do I need to add to 0 to give me 300? I need to add 300. Okay, so let me see. So far, I'm thinking my C needs to be 300. Let me check. If I put 1 in, so I've got my difference is 500. I put in 1 plus C, and this needs to equal to 800. Okay, so my input value is 1 and my output value is 800. So now I see 500 plus C is equal to 800. So C is equal to, if I take this over to the other side, that gives me 300. So my C is going to be 300. Okay, so now my formula will be Tn is equal to 500 N plus C. What if they tell me the time needs to be T and my cost needs to be C? Okay, so now I just change this formula. So my cost is my output value, so this becomes C instead of Tn. 500, my input value they want is T, so I just change this into T. So I'm just changing what they want. Oh, sorry guys, this is plus 300. I'm just changing it to what they wanted. So if they wanted this to be D or this to be A, then we would do it accordingly. Okay. Pause it if you need to write this down. Let's go to the second method. Okay, so the second method is just by analyzing it. Okay, so they told me it's a call out fee of 300, remember? So I did that and I said plus my rate, which is 500 times the time. Okay, so this whole formula will give me my cost. So I said that I've got a call out fee of 300 plus my rate, I said 500 times the number of hours, okay, will give me my total cost. So I just put this into a nice formula. So that's total cost will equal to 500 T plus 300. Okay, that's just by inspection. Alright, so you can use either method, whichever one works for you. Okay, let's do another example. Okay, if I have same concept, so let's do the time that it takes to complete a job and the cost, and I say that for my job to be complete, I'm charging 20 Rand per hour, okay, and no call out fee. Okay, so I've got for 0 hours, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Okay, so I work out, so cost per hour, so 20. Okay, per hour, how many hours am I working? 0. So 20 times 0 gives me 0. For 1 hour, so 20 times 1. So that gives me 20. So I write in 20. 20 times 2 gives me 40. 20 times 3 hours gives me 60. 20 times 4 hours gives me 80. Okay, so now I've completed my table. Okay, so now I need to get my formula. So whichever one you want to use. But if you see here, what did we do? We took the time. Okay, we took the time times 20. And that gave me my cost. Do you see that? So I took, along the way, I said 0 times 20 gives me 0. 1 times 20 gives me 20. 2 times 20 gives me 40. So my formula will just be, my cost will be 20T. Okay. This is with direct proportion. Okay. There's a different way to do it with indirect proportion. And it's a little bit easier. Okay, so this example is going to be on page 126 as well. Okay, so a garden service makes its money by working as fast as possible in each garden. To achieve this, the service uses an optimum number of gardeners. It takes the garden speedsters 1 hour to service a large garden if they employ 6 gardeners. Okay, so this is at the bottom of page 126, so you can read there. Okay, and they give us a table. So they say hours taken, and they say number of gardeners needed. Okay, so they tell us so let me show you. It says it takes the garden speeders 1 hour to service a large garden if they employ 6 gardeners. Okay, so that's our starting point. So it takes them 1 hour if they've got 6 gardeners. Okay, so now I take it, if they've got 2 gardeners, how many do they need? So if it took 1 hour for 6 gardeners, 1, 2, 3, 4, let's do this properly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one gardener, 2 gardeners, 3 gardeners, 4 gardeners, 5 gardeners, 6 gardeners. Okay, took 6 gardeners 1 hour. Okay, if it takes them 2 hours, how many do they need? So it takes them okay, if it takes them 2 hours, all right, how many gardeners are needed? So 1 hour took 6 gardeners. Okay, 2 hours, if it took them 2 hours, how many gardeners did they have? Okay, so we just halve it. Okay, so we go 6 divided by 2, because 6 gardeners will take 1 hour. Okay, if it took them 2 hours, how many gardeners? It will be 3 gardeners. Okay, so for the first hour, okay, 3 hours, all right. If it took 3 hours, how many gardeners did they use? So you just say 6 divided by 3, which gives you 2. Okay, if it took them 4 hours, you say 6 divided by 4, which gives you 1,5. Okay, if it took 5 hours, how many gardeners were there? It was 1,2. If it took 6 hours, okay, the number of gardeners used were 1. Okay, so do you see that it just went inversely? So 1 hour, if you had 6 gardeners, it would only take you 1 hour. But if you had 3 gardeners, it would take you 2 hours. If you had 2 gardeners, it would take you 3 hours. Okay? If we took our formula, so if I make the hours taken, I want to make that H. Okay? And the number of gardeners, I want to make that G. Okay? So if I remember what we did, we took the hours. Okay, basically what we did is we took the hours, okay, and we divided it, or we took 6 divided by the number of hours. Do you remember that? So I took 6 divided by 2, 6 divided by 3, 6 divided by 4, okay, and that gave me how many gardeners I needed. Okay, so if I asked you to work out how many gardeners are needed, I said 6 divided by hours. Okay, if I ask you how many hours, you just flip it around. So it will be 6 over G. Okay, let me know if you understand the indirect proportion. Okay, it is a very difficult idea to understand. Okay, so now we're going to do formulating equations from graphs. Okay, so if I gave you a graph like this, so 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000. Okay, and this was 2, 3, 4, 5. So say now I gave you this graph. So this is your y and this is your x. And this was how much money I would pay for how many workers. And I say that the scenario is if I had one worker, his salary, I would have to pay 200 Rand for him. So that's his salary. If I had two workers, I would have to pay them in total 400 Rand. Okay, because one worker will get 200 and then the other worker would get 200. So I pay 400 in total. Okay, 3 workers, okay, same thing. If I had 3 workers, each one gets 200 Rand, so it'd be 200 plus 200 plus 200, so that gives me 600. Okay, so now if I give you the table, the graph, okay, so one worker got 200, second worker got 2 workers get 400 altogether, 3 workers get 600 altogether, 4 workers get 800 altogether, and 5 workers get 1,000 altogether, okay, for what I need to pay. Okay, so that's my graph. I give you this, okay, and I say work out a formula. Now I look, what's it going up in, okay? So one worker gets 200, so let's make a table to make it easier for ourselves. Okay, so I've got workers and total cost. So one worker, if I only have one worker, I only have to pay 200 Rand salaries. If I've got 2 workers, I have to pay 400 Rand in salaries. If I've got 3 workers, I have to pay 600 Rand in salaries. If I've got 4 workers, I have to pay 800 Rand in salaries. And 5, I have to pay 1,000 Rand in salaries. So what am I doing every single time? Okay, I'm taking, if they worked at a rate of 200 per worker, and I say my workers need to be W and my total cost needs to be C. I basically say 200 times the number of worker. Okay, so 2 workers I had to times by 200 to get 400 because each one gets 200. So one worker gets 200, the second worker gets 200, and that gives me 400. Okay, so I just said 200 times 2 because it happened twice. Okay, so my formula will be cost, because my total cost, that's what we're working out, will be 200 W, because it's 200 times the worker. So let me see, does this work? So my total cost, if I have 5 workers, so 200 times 5 gives me 1,000, so it does work. Okay, so this will help me if I say now you get 20 workers, what will my cost be? So I go 200 times 20, so that will give me 4,000. Okay, let me know if you don't understand that and if you do. Now I want you to do I'll put up an exercise on Microsoft Teams and I want you guys to complete this.